My expression turned steely. I swung the thunder bamboo sword, slicing the wind in two. But even split, the winds hit the ground like meteors, leaving 2 deep craters. Had it struck me head-on, I'd be dead without question. I steadied myself. Probing him like this was pointless. I needed to act fast, performing a binding spell and driving the thunder bamboo sword straight through his heart. Gathering the yang energy within me to the tips of my fingers, I awaited the precise moment. For a being like him, there would only be one chance. As I prepared to strike, he glanced at me from the corner of his eye. "That sword of yours is not bad," he sneered. With a mocking tone, the celestial being continued, "I don't have time to deal with you now, but if you insist on playing, I'll oblige." He pulled out a palm-sized straw man and tossed it into the air. In mere moments, the straw man swelled, transforming into a human figure, complete with facial features, exuding an eerie, sinister aura. Clearly, this was the spell for conjuring soldiers from beans. "Now, break his arms and legs. Leave the head intact," the celestial being ordered. The straw man gave a jerky nod before hurtling toward me with lightning speed. Taken aback by its velocity, I readied a binding spell, only to have my concentration disrupted by the straw man's relentless assault. Forced on the defensive, I had no choice but to abandon my pursuit of the celestial being for now. Taking advantage of the opening, the celestial being rubbed his hands together. A black glow pulsed in his palms as he gleefully advanced on the dragon maiden of the Yangtze. "I won't let him meddle in our private battle," he laughed. Clearly, his plan was to keep me occupied with the straw man while he confronted the dragon maiden alone. I wasn't going to let that happen. I brandished the thunder bamboo sword, its radiant light slicing through the air. I aimed to shred the straw man like cutting through weeds, but to my astonishment, the sword landed on the straw man's body with no effect whatsoever. Ordinary straw would have been severed in an instant, yet this creature remained unharmed. Quickly, I attuned my senses to the thunder bamboo sword, which soon relayed a message: "Sir, this straw is celestial grade." No wonder it resisted my attacks. It seemed the thunder bamboo sword alone wouldn't suffice against such a foe. This couldn't continue. We would be on the losing end if it did. Meanwhile, the celestial being and the dragon maiden resumed their fierce clash. Amid the explosive exchanges, the dragon maiden was abruptly sent flying. She was evidently losing ground. Releasing my tight grip on the thunder bamboo sword, I commanded, "Go. Tangle that straw man up." "Understood." The thunder bamboo sword transformed into a streak of golden green light, relentlessly slashing and weaving around the straw man. Despite its superior speed and relentless maneuvers, the sword failed to inflict any tangible damage on the foe. Observing the situation, I acted decisively, unleashing the power of my inner elixir. A surge of rich demonic energy burst forth, rolling through the air like a tidal wave. Its intensity shocked even the third prince, who exclaimed, "What kind of demonic energy is this? It's terrifying. Uncle Lee, he's definitely a demon king." But I paid him no mind. Utilizing my demonic energy, I encased the straw man in an isolating shroud, testing whether it could be subdued this way. Sure enough, the straw man began to struggle, its movements growing sluggish and disjointed. It even started showing signs of losing control. Elation welled up inside me. Demonic energy could indeed counter and seize control of other people's magical constructs. I concentrated on reducing the demonic energy's radius, compressing it relentlessly while forcing the remaining energy into the straw man's body like a vice. The straw man's limbs stiffened, and it started trembling, as though overtaken by an invasive force. A peculiar sense of connection emerged in my mind. Experimenting, I attempted to command it. Its movements were slow, but it stood frozen, ceasing all aggressive acts toward the thunder bamboo sword. Success! I instructed the thunder bamboo sword, "Enter its body. Go inside." At once, the sword obediently pierced into the straw man's form. With control over the straw man now mine, I began steering it toward the celestial being. Oblivious, he remained engrossed in his skirmish with the dragon maiden. He had no idea his weapon had switched allegiance. At that moment, the celestial being hurled a punch, forcing the Yangtze River dragon maiden to stagger back, her face flushed. "You're merely a demon. How dare you contend with me?" "What a joke," the celestial sneered, instantly flashing before her. "Will you submit to me or not?" The Yangtze River dragon maiden glared coldly, clapping her hands together with force to reject him. "Ha! You refuse the wine offered and opt for punishment instead? Fine, today I'll make you submit and beg for my favor." The celestial smirked disdainfully, landing 2 punches directly on her palms. Boom! The dragon maiden was knocked backward and spat blood. "Yield or not?" The celestial laughed mockingly. She resolutely counterattacked but was struck by another blow, smashing her into a pile of rubble and triggering a violent explosion. Fury ignited within me. While the Celestial remained fixated on the Dragon Maiden, I controlled the straw figure, covertly moving it closer. Distracted by his arrogance, the Celestial did not notice. I prepared to unleash the immobilization spell at any moment. Why are you back? Here to get your limbs broken? He didn't even bother to turn around before the straw figure thrust a sword directly at his back. The Thunderstrike bamboo sword flared with electric green light, piercing through his body in an instant. The Celestial stood as if deflated, with divine energy leaking from the wound. My heart raced. Glaring behind him in shock, he gasped, "What have you done? How did you break my spell? You want to die, don't you?" he roared, striking down mercilessly with his palm toward the straw figure. Boom! The straw figure was torn apart, scattering dried straw across the ground, its demonic aura dissipating. The Celestial, now enraged, tried to pull out the embedded blade. But the Thunderstrike bamboo sword had a will of its own, burrowing deeper into him with relentless determination. Fully submerged, the sword caused the Celestial to grimace in agony, grinding his teeth as the wound tore wider. More divine energy poured uncontrollably from his body. Being merely an avatar, his existence depended on maintaining his reservoir of divine energy. The loss of even a fraction spelled imminent disaster for him. Now, this wound alone had already cost him a third of his energy. The Celestial avatar's aura plummeted. "Thunderstrike bamboo, come back!" I shouted in alarm, but it was too late. The Celestial, with sheer rage, gripped the sword's hilt fiercely and yanked it out. The Thunderstrike bamboo emitted flashes of golden-green brilliance, attempting to revert into an energy state, but it was futile. His mighty grip held fast, preventing escape. Linked with the Thunderstrike bamboo spirit, I could feel its unbearable pain. Panic consumed me as I lunged toward the Celestial. "You filthy demon! How dare you invade my divine body? Die for your insolence!" The Celestial roared, crushing the blade with his grip. The Thunderstrike bamboo shattered like glass, its brilliance extinguished as though engulfed by flames. The spiritual link between us severed instantly. I froze. So weak it breaks with a single squeeze? Pathetic, he spat furiously, gripping the sundered blade. With a powerful snap of his knee, he attempted to snap it clean in half. I bolted toward him with all my might, helpless as I watched the shattered Thunderstrike bamboo nearly split apart. Thankfully, its material, hardened by countless thunderstrikes, had formidable resilience. It rebounded from his hands, landing lifelessly onto the ground. The Celestial instinctively reached for it but failed to grab hold. I rushed to retrieve the now dark and unresponsive sword, sensing none of the Thunderstrike bamboo's usual vitality. It felt like nothing more than a lifeless object. My heart twisted with grief. Could its spirit truly have been destroyed? We had a pact, just 3 more years before its freedom. But now, before our time was up, it seemed its existence might already be over. "Consider yourself lucky it didn't crack completely," the Celestial scoffed, his icy gaze locking onto me. "Do you think such petty efforts can defeat a god? Foolish. I am celestial, you mortals can never comprehend the might of the divine." His wounds, bizarrely enough, began healing. Yet the divine energy he had lost was beyond recovery. The destruction of the Thunderstrike bamboo's essence had robbed him of another third of his strength. My heart ached as I murmured, "Thunderstrike bamboo, you've done your duty to the end. I was going to spare your insignificant life, but now? You dared plot against me, angering a god? Congratulations! I'll sever your head first and present it to the Jade Emperor for a reward." The Celestial swept his hand through the air, summoning the blade of an executioner's sword. Its cry split the heavens as a dazzling sword appeared, golden light intertwined with dark runes etched along its lethal edge. Its sharpness was undeniable, and the runes ensured that decapitated heads could not be reattached. Drawing the blade, it emanated an invisible pressure that pierced all directions, eliciting a stinging sensation in the air around me. In a flash, the Celestial teleported before me, the sword raised to strike my neck. Suddenly, from behind him, a cold-eyed woman appeared and struck him forcefully on his back. Boom! The sheer impact shook his entire frame, draining color from his face. Yet, he held on, refusing to falter. He spun around, bellowing, "Get lost! It's not your turn to die." The woman stood her ground without flinching, poised to strike again. "Leave now," he roared in fury, preparing to retaliate with his sword. I had, by then, concentrated my energy into forming yang energy and seized an unexpected opening by striking his acupoints. The unexpected attack caught him off guard. The Celestial's sword-wielding momentum froze, leaving him rigid. "An immobilization spell? Even I don't know this technique. Who taught you that?" His voice brimmed with a mix of astonishment and rage. The woman froze, blood spurting from her mouth. Clearly, she was gravely injured. God damn it. Give me back the thunderstrike bamboo. Fury surged within me. I gripped the dimmed, unremarkable hilt of the thunderstrike bamboo sword with both hands and swung it forcefully at the deity's neck. For the first time, I used the immobilization technique to restrain a deity. I didn't know how long it would hold, but I needed to seize this opportunity to finish him off. This swing wasn't just mine, it was Thunderstrike Bamboo's final strike after its death, carrying the full weight of my blazing anger. Thunderstrike Bamboo, may your spirit in the heavens bless this strike and let me sever his head. Thud. The blade dulled. The Thunderstrike Bamboo sword struck hard against the deity's neck, but it didn't decapitate him, only leaving a faint sword mark. I was both stunned and heartbroken. Thunderstrike Bamboo's spirit was gone. The sword had lost its sharpness and vitality, reduced to nothing more than a rusty piece of iron. The blade could no longer pierce the deity's body. Even the celestial energy I painstakingly gathered had been effortlessly destroyed by him. Was the gap between me and a deity truly this insurmountable? Time was running out. I sheathed my sword and clenched my fists, hammering them into his chest with unrelenting force. Boom! 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 Each punch was fueled by rage, enough to make him wince and struggle, his eyes gleaming with hatred. The damage wasn't enough, I couldn't waste time. I summoned my demonic energy, enlarging and sharpening my fists before slamming them down once more. The god's eyes twitched, a flicker of panic escaping his face. Boom! This strike carried immense power, twisting his expression into one of agony. Sensing my advantage, I rained consecutive blows on him. Alongside me, the Lady of the Yangtze River joined the fray, her attacks forcing him to stagger backward. The deity's aura weakened drastically, his strength crumbling. He was no longer the untouchable figure he had been moments ago. I saw my opening. Preparing to land the 18th punch, a sharp tension gripped my chest. The god's eyes turned glacial, emotionless. I was alarmed. Damn! He's breaking free of the immobilization spell. Boom! I threw my final punch, forcing the deity to spit out celestial energy from his mouth. The Lady of the Yangtze River seized her chance, snatching up the executioner's sword and swinging it toward the deity's head. But as soon as the blade touched him, it inexplicably dulled. Wham! The god tore his arms apart, releasing a powerful shockwave that shattered the immobilization spell. My eyes flickered with regret. If only the sword hadn't been destroyed, his head would have long been lopped off, his body riddled with holes. The Lady of the Yangtze River raised her sword to defend herself, but the sheer force sent her flying 10 meters. She landed hard, coughing up blood. You fool! You dare use this deity's sword to strike me? He cackled hysterically, spurting out several mouthfuls of celestial energy, followed by a violent cough. His complexion was turning strange. Return, he barked. The sword trembled in rebellion, slipping from the lady's grasp in an attempt to soar back to him. Blood dripped from her hands, but just as the weapon flew toward him, a figure intercepted it, a heavy fist crashing into the deity's chest. Boom! The god was sent flying, tumbling 10 meters away as he coughed violently, his reddened eyes filled with malice. An immobilization spell? Who taught you that? I charged at him again, intent on taking him out while he was still weakened. You think I wasn't aware? High-tier celestial spells like immobilization are known by few in the heavens, but your version has already been broken. No one has ever made this deity look so wretched. Dragon 18, whoever you are, your death tonight is certain. Before he finished speaking, I darted forward like a shadow, closing the gap between us. He snarled viciously, swinging his sword down at me. If he weren't injured, such close-range combat would have been impossible to evade. But his injuries slowed him down, and I punished him with a fierce punch. Boom! The god flew back again, hitting the ground hard. Cough! Clutching his chest, he spat out golden celestial energy, his life force dwindling toward its end. I pressed forward, but suddenly he snarled, releasing a wave of dark, noxious gas from his mouth. Its pungent stench caught me off guard, leaving me dizzy and disoriented. What the hell is this? Horror surged within me as I instinctively felt something was amiss. In the blur of motion, a glinting blade suddenly emerged from the black mist, the sharp executioner's sword slicing through the air, heading straight for my neck. Too fast to dodge. My instincts screamed, and demonic energy erupted from my core like mad, surging outward in a desperate bid to stop it. The sword was only a foot away when suddenly, a hand darted out, grabbing its blade firmly. The weapon's movement halted, unable to move an inch closer. But, blood immediately gushed from that hand. I turned in shock. It was the Lady of the Yangtze River. She had shielded me with her bare hand. Her gaze locked onto the deity, her voice sharp and cold, "Get lost." The deity roared in anger, unleashing another shockwave that sent her flying violently into the rocks. Dust and debris erupted as her figure lay motionless, her fate uncertain. Rage consumed me. She had protected me. The demonic energy inside me surged like an unstoppable flood, erupting toward the deity and sending him hurtling backward. He crashed into the stone, shattering it to pieces as he fell. Climbing to his feet, his face twisted in fury, his features trembling uncontrollably. "Go!" I growled, commanding my demonic power into another violent blast that struck him again. The god, now enraged, wielded his sword in a frenzied slash. But his divine weapon met its match in the formless tidal wave of demonic energy. It couldn't land a single effective blow. Seizing control of my demonic energy, I ensnared the executioner's sword itself. Just as he annihilated the thunderstrike bamboo sword's spirit, I would eradicate the soul of his weapon. The overwhelming demonic energy crept across the blade's surface, causing its aura to dim slightly. It seemed, with enough time, I could corrupt this sword into a demon's blade. This is segment 4118 from the text provided. Below is the content processed while maintaining the structure, paragraph breaks, and overall layout. The immortal was furious, yet the more I watched, the dizzier I felt. What in the world was this black mist? A sense of crisis rose in my heart. I quickly suppressed it and hurriedly retreated. The immortal roared, trying to escape? No way! Ignoring his pain, he pursued me. I fixed him with a cold stare and continued waving the formation flag. Escape? First, take this move, I said coldly. The formation underwent a sudden and dramatic change. Its light screen blurred, the 5 elemental forces clashed and unleashed a destructive aura that surged to engulf everything. Boom! 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 The formation boiled like a cauldron, its energy exploding outward with violent force. I pointed the formation flag, and the array seemed to melt, shrinking down and concentrating toward him. It was like countless bombs crashing down on him from every direction. I triggered the formation's self-destruction. The immortal's face changed drastically as he exclaimed in shock, "A formation that can self-destruct? Impossible!" A deafening explosion echoed through the heavens and the earth. The collision of the 5 elements erupted in dazzling brilliance, completely engulfing the immortal. Anyone caught within that light would instantly turn to ash. A massive mushroom cloud rose rapidly. The island trembled violently as the shockwave rippled outward, triggering a tsunami. The third prince collapsed to the ground, paralyzed with fear. The power of the self-destruction was astonishing. This was indeed Zhang Baisui's ultimate formation. From within the mushroom cloud came a tearing sound. A charred, mangled hand was blown into the air. The wound was jagged, it had clearly been blasted off. As the mushroom cloud and the radiance gradually dissipated, I squinted, narrowing my eyes into slits. A massive crater, 30 meters in diameter, appeared on the ground. Inside, someone was still standing. The man had lost an arm. His other arm, stripped of flesh, was left with only sinew and bone, barely clutching a sword. His entire body was a bloody mess, and celestial energy sprayed from his wounds. One blast had left him teetering on the edge of death. I felt a surge of satisfaction. Thunderstrike bamboo, do you feel it? I'm avenging you. Yet he hadn't died. I immediately charged forward, ready to strike again. Using the 10-step kill technique, I closed in swiftly, throwing a punch. The immortal suddenly let out a sinister laugh. Ha ha ha, even I can end up looking this wretched. Do you even know who I am? His words shocked me. He called himself Li Qi. Before I could process this, he smirked and said something that made my head spin. Suddenly, I couldn't even stand upright. It felt like I'd been poisoned. Panic surged in me as I recalled something. He was indeed a celestial being from heaven. You're the plague god? Bang! With his skeletal hand, he raised his sword and stabbed toward me. I roared, instinctively trying to resist, but my body seemed to be controlled by some force, my movements sluggish. Buzz! The ghost jade hanging on my neck glowed, striking against the sword, slowing it visibly. The ghost jade saved me once again. But the dizziness overwhelmed me, and I failed to seize the moment to evade. The sword pierced ruthlessly into my chest. Clang! A crisp metallic sound rang out. Both of us froze. I looked down to see my clothes torn from the sword's impact, revealing the inner armor beneath, the very one the Dragon Maiden of the Yangtze had equipped me with. It had blocked the fatal blow. Yet the ghost jade now bore fresh cracks and could shatter at any moment. A wave of searing pain coursed through me, and I spat out blood. The agony brought me brief clarity. With my mind, I sensed strands of sinister black chi emerging from my dantian. It was this that had caused my dizziness. Using my demonic energy, I suppressed the black chi and activated the 10-step kill once more, intending to create distance. The immortal wouldn't let up. His second sword swung toward my neck. I dodged, but the sword's shockwave struck me, sending me flying against a boulder. I quickly got back up, coughing up blood again. He pointed at me, and the black chi raged within my body, the pain tearing through me like an inferno. I gritted my teeth and resisted, but a second shockwave hit me. I barely avoided it. The third and fourth waves followed closely. I couldn't dodge them, they flung me into the air again, blood gushing out as dizziness overwhelmed me. Fury erupted within me. Poison. This poison was far stronger than I had anticipated. I'd underestimated how deadly plague toxins could be. This is my divine plague toxin, impressive, isn't it? He sneered. If it hadn't acted just in time, you might have actually killed me back there. After all, I'm an immortal. Fate won't let someone like you take my life. A useless waste like you trying to assassinate me? Laughable. Dragging his battered body, he approached me menacingly. Anger surged as I forced myself to stand, throwing a punch with all my strength. Even though I was gravely injured, I would fight to the death. Life or death would be determined by fate. But I controlled the fate of Long Shiba. The immortal sneered wickedly, using his sword to block my punch. The dizziness sapped my strength, otherwise, he could never have stopped me. He flicked his sword disdainfully to shake off the demonic energy. Your demonic chi is so annoying, clinging persistently and even trying to corrode my sword. If not for it, you'd already be done for. You may have many tricks, but there's no one left to help you. Die. As his sword slashed down, my bloodshot eyes stayed locked on him, and I caught the descending blade with both hands. The blade bit into my fingers like a searing knife, but the pain sharpened my focus. The immortal's gaze grew cold as we grappled in a deadly stalemate. He pressed down, I pushed back, even as my hands threatened to sever under the strain. I raised a leg and kicked him hard, sending him flying backward along with his sword amidst his agonized scream. I let go, staring at my hands, now torn open, the bones exposed, blood flowing freely. I didn't expect the battle to be this brutal, but the pain jolted me back to clarity. I knew I had no choice but to fight with everything I had. Ignoring the pain, I charged at him, determined to strike while he was unsteady and end this. He exhaled black mist, and I dodged in panic. A wave of dizziness overtook me, and I fell. Shaking my head desperately, I tried to resist, but I couldn't control the black energy surging within me. It kept drilling into my mind. I immediately countered it with my demonic energy. I struggled to my feet, only to see that the immortal had already risen before me. His aura had weakened considerably, yet he stood there with a grotesque smile. Ha ha ha. In the end, I win. I'll gladly take your worthless head, he sneered, dragging his battered body closer to me step by step. Suddenly, he glanced in a direction, his eyes narrowing into slits. What was going on? He quickened his pace, limping toward me, clearly aware someone was approaching, and eager to resolve things quickly. I shook my head to stay conscious, barely managing to get up, only to see his sword slashing down toward me. The blade carried traces of my demonic energy, remaining sharp as ever. But in my current state, I had no way to withstand this strike. This was the moment, life or death. Was this it? Was my head, Dragon 18's head, really going to roll? After all my effort, I couldn't escape fate? I was filled with unwillingness. At that moment, a soft breeze brushed past, and a shadow suddenly appeared. Two slender, pale fingers reached out and pinched the blade mid-swing, stopping it completely. In the next instant, the sword was stuck, utterly immovable. To stop a sword with bare fingers? It was unthinkable. I instinctively looked at the figure, and a wave of relief washed over me. Those cold, icy eyes, she was back. Jiang Zhoushuan. She had finally appeared. How dare you, you wretched ghost? Do you dare defy the Jade Emperor's command? The immortal yelled furiously, shock etched clearly on his face. He hadn't expected Jiang Zhoushuan's speed or the feat of stopping his full-strength attack with just her fingers. With her fingers gripping the sword, Jiang Zhoushuan's frosty gaze bore into him. The immortal pressed down on the blade with all his strength, to no avail. He tried to pull it back, but couldn't move it an inch. Enraged, he snarled, "Let go. If you don't, I'll make sure your soul is obliterated." Crack! Jiang Zhoushuan applied more pressure. Using just two fingers, she deformed the hand gripping the sword, forcing him to let go. Now, the sword belonged to Jiang Zhoushuan. I was stunned. Where had she been all this time? How had her power grown so much? "You dare take my executioner's sword," bellowed the immortal, seething with rage. "You want it? Take it." Jiang Zhoushuan's fingers flicked, and the sword flew like an arrow. The immortal lunged to catch it, but came up empty-handed. Boom, the blade embedded itself into a hard rock, leaving only the hilt exposed. The immortal froze in shock. As he simmered in anger, I felt another breeze. Jiang Zhoushuan had suddenly appeared right in front of him. The immortal's expression shifted from fury to terror as Jiang Zhoushuan seized him by the throat. Preposterous. I'm a divine officer, a plague god of the celestial ranks. You dare commit deicide? Be smart, let me go and allow me to fulfill the Jade Emperor's command. Otherwise, I won't show mercy. The immortal regained his composure, sneering as if convinced Jiang Zhoushuan would release him and even apologize. But Jiang Zhoushuan simply tightened her grip. Who needs a sword to cut off a head? Crushing it by hand is much faster, she said coldly. Crack! The immortal's head began to contort and break apart, celestial energy spewing from the fissures. He cried out in horror, You dare kill a deity? You tried to take my husband's head. Why shouldn't I take your life? Jiang Zhoushuan replied. Husband? Him? He's yours? Release me, or you'll regret it. The immortal's panic deepened. Uncle Li, don't worry. I'm coming. A voice rang out in the distance as the third prince shouted excitedly. He was yelling in my direction, Father, look quick. Uncle Li is about to die. Ha! How dare you harm the plague god? You vile ghost, challenging the heavens is blasphemous. If you don't release him now, your death is imminent, a commanding voice boomed from afar. Oh? Release him? All right. Jiang Zhoushuan's icy gaze darted over, and her fingers squeezed tighter. Boom. The immortal's skull burst like a ripe watermelon, leaving him a headless corpse. His neck was a mangled mess, and celestial energy erupted violently from the open wound. Thud, his lifeless body collapsed to the ground. Impudence! The Dragon King of the Bohai Sea roared with fury, his voice thundering across the island and beyond. The ground beneath us quaked violently, as if an earthquake had struck. I was overwhelmed with shock. Jiang Zhoushuan had actually killed the immortal's manifestation with a simple squeeze? Although the deity had been severely injured, with much of his celestial energy depleted, he was still battle-ready. To think he'd be taken down so easily. At the same time, I felt a wave of relief. The immortal was dead, and for now, the Long River Dragon Maiden wouldn't have to face execution. Jiang Zhoushuan paid no attention to the Dragon King's enraged outburst. Instead, in a flash, she appeared before the visibly panicked third prince, her pale hand already gripping his throat. She was impossibly fast. The spoiled third prince didn't even have time to react. Here is the processed content in accordance with your request, retaining the original structure, line breaks, and overall layout. He collapsed powerlessly, his legs trembling as he nearly wet himself. Father, you dare lay a hand on my son? The Bohai Dragon King roared in fury, his voice triggering tsunamis around the island. This has nothing to do with you today. But if you want to get involved, you're welcome to try. Jiang Zhoushuan said coldly. The third prince's face turned beet red. It was clear that she was exerting pressure. How dare you? The Bohai Dragon King roared angrily. Pa. The tsunami surged again, raising giant waves 3 to 4 meters high. Father, I feel awful. Save me. The third prince whimpered, shivering. Don't fear, my son. She would never dare harm you. The Bohai Dragon King reassured, his demeanor steady. As long as I'm here, if she dares touch you, she'll never leave Bohai alive. No sooner had he finished speaking than the third prince's face twisted grotesquely. With a sudden bang, his head exploded like a watermelon. Blood spurted everywhere, and his headless corpse collapsed, his legs convulsed as foul-smelling liquid pooled beneath him. Perhaps in his final moments, he never imagined Jiang Zhoushuan's methods would be so decisive, completely disregarding the Bohai Dragon King's dignity. My son, roared the Bohai Dragon King, his fury and disbelief blending into his voice. The wind howled fiercely, the heavens darkened, and it seemed as if an enraged father might descend upon them at any moment. Don't you dare leave. Don't even think about escaping. I'll tear you limb from limb. His voice surged like a raging flood. And what gives you the right to threaten me? I've never feared anyone, including you. Jiang Zhoushuan coldly retracted her gaze and leaped gracefully toward my side, her demeanor suddenly softening. Husband. Master, I struggled to remain standing, but Jiang Zhoushuan quickly supported me. The dizziness and chest pain grew worse. Dark energy raged within me, and my demon power was failing to suppress it. What kind of deadly toxin was this? Master, I'm poisoned, I said weakly, my voice filled with pain. Dear husband, are you uncomfortable? Jiang Zhoushuan gently wiped the cold sweat from my forehead. I can feel multiple strands of dark energy wreaking havoc inside me. I know what poison it is. I need to extract it. Don't move, husband. Master, what are you going to MMPH? Before I could finish my sentence, Jiang Zhoushuan cupped my face in her hands and pressed her lips to mine. My eyes widened as my body froze completely. She kissed me? In that moment, I was overwhelmed by a mix of sweetness, softness, and coldness. I abruptly felt a strong pulling sensation. The dark energy within me was being drawn out, and when her lips finally parted from mine, she exhaled 3 strands of black mist, the exact toxins that had been disrupting my body. With a casual wave of her hand, the black mist dissipated into nothingness. The dizziness vanished instantly. My mind cleared, my body felt light, and there was still a lingering sweetness on my lips. Yet deep down, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of loss. Jiang Zhoushuan had kissed me only to remove the poison. If not for the toxin, she would never have kissed me so willingly. It occurred to me that it had been 11 years since she last kissed me. And even then, it had been my cheek, not my lips. I coughed lightly, the injuries from earlier relapsing slightly. Fortunately, my demon energy could heal me quickly, and I managed to rein in the pain. "Dear husband, are you still in pain?" Jiang Zhoushuan asked gently. I stood in a daze, shaking my head absent-mindedly, as if caught in a dream. "Master, Did my kiss hurt you just now?" she asked. "No, it's not that. I mean..." Before Jiang Zhoushuan could finish, her gaze shifted into the distance. I looked in the same direction and realized that the Yangtze River Dragon Maiden had unknowingly climbed out of the rubble. Her face was pale, her expression vacant. Those normally calm and calculating eyes of hers were now flickering erratically, holding a peculiar mix of emotions that I couldn't quite decipher. It was the first time I'd ever seen her so unsettled. What had gotten into her? The moment she noticed Jiang Zhoushuan and I were looking at her, she immediately avoided eye contact. It was the first time she'd ever dodged someone's gaze. What on earth was she afraid of? I was taken aback to see her standing alone just a few dozen meters away. No one else was around her, and the loneliness was unmistakable. She resembled a lone light in the night, isolated and helpless, as if she could be swallowed by the darkness at any moment. "Dragon Maiden, are you all right?" Jiang Zhoushuan asked. She shook her head, remaining silent. I joined in. "Dragon Maiden, we made it through today, together." "Yes, we made it through," she replied quietly. "Husband, we must leave this place immediately," Jiang Zhoushuan urged. I couldn't have agreed more. This place was far too dangerous. Leaving as soon as possible was the best course of action. The plague god's spirit was already destroyed, but there was every chance that his true form might descend at any moment to claim the head of the Dragon Maiden. That would be an even deadlier encounter. On top of that, both the Dragon Maiden and I were injured. We needed a safe place to recover urgently. And let's not forget, there was every chance that the Bohai Dragon King would arrive soon. Every second counted. One must remember, although the Bohai Dragon King resided in the mortal world, he was still a celestial being from the heavens. What kind of power a true celestial possessed, I still had no idea. The Dragon Maiden's gaze shifted elsewhere, landing on the massive footprint etched into the ground, a footprint the size of a truck. Her father had just been crushed into the earth by the plague god. His fate was now uncertain. The Dragon Maiden froze in her tracks as I spoke. "Dragon Maiden, your father isn't as bad as you think. Let me know if there is any other part you'd like revised or processed." "I just found out," she said. She walked toward the footprints but froze. I was shocked too. Could he really have been reduced to pulp? Just as I was about to step forward, a familiar voice rang out. "You've got some nerve, daring to kill an immortal. Aren't you afraid the Jade Emperor will wipe out your entire clan?" A figure suddenly appeared in the distance, a young man holding a wine bottle, standing about 100 meters away. In that instant, I figured it out. Yesterday, we called him Old Fourth, the young man I had drinks with. Turns out he's Lu Dongbin, descended from the heavens. I felt a wave of relief that I had shown him kindness yesterday, changing his view of me. Otherwise, forget about drinking, I wouldn't have even made it through the night alive. It's true what they say, good deeds are rewarded. This time, I believe it. The Dragon Maiden immediately grew alert, and Jiang Zhoushuan also fixed his glare on the young man. After all, this kind of mysterious materialization could only be the mark of an immortal. The tension on the island rose to a fever pitch. I decided to break the ice. "Old Fourth, you didn't finish your wine yesterday." Both the Dragon Maiden and Jiang Zhoushuan looked at me in astonishment. My casual address of the immortal left them dumbfounded. Hearing this, Lu Dongbin's stern expression gave way to a helpless smile. "You people are insane. That Li Qi you crossed wants revenge so badly. You killed his avatar, his true self will be coming here soon to settle accounts with you." His words eased the tense atmosphere slightly. I gave a wry smile. "Do I have a choice?" Lu Dongbin shook his head and walked closer. "You don't, but she does." He turned to the Dragon Maiden. "You've accumulated thousands of years of karmic virtue in the mortal world. The moment you make a choice, all of that will go up in flames. The Dragon Maiden replied, I don't have a choice, either. The young man sighed. If that's the case, then look after yourself. She nodded. Lu Dongbin scrutinized Zhang Jiuxuan. You look familiar. Where have I seen you before? Zhang Jiuxuan's expression didn't change. I hurriedly butted in, Old Fourth, the Bohai Dragon King is on his way. We need to leave. Leave? Lu Dongbin shook his head solemnly. The Jade Emperor issued an order for me to take one head. Do you really think anyone's leaving today? Sighing, I took the wine bottle from his hand, downed a large swig, and patted him on the shoulder. Here's your wine. I'm going now. I handed the bottle back. Master, Dragon Maiden, let's go, I said. I glanced at the footprints left by the plague god. The Dragon Maiden's father, though injured, was still alive. He had used his divine powers to slip away. I figured he didn't want his daughter to see him in that state. After confirming her safety, he left quietly. The Dragon Maiden and Zhang Jiuxuan both stared at me. I locked eyes with Lu Dongbin. He glanced at the wine bottle in his hand and seemed irritated. You drank that much in one gulp? Wasteful. Now get lost. He waved us off impatiently. Thank you, I said sincerely. Don't thank me. When the time comes, I'll still carry out the Jade Emperor's command. Lu Dongbin's face turned serious. I appreciated the fact that he'd at least bought me some time. When the moment comes, I won't hold back, he warned. Neither will I replied, equally resolute. Then let's see how strong you are by then. Right now, you're no match for me, Lu Dongbin stated bluntly. I knew he was stronger than the plague god. I had almost died last night. If I faced him now, I wouldn't stand a chance. Last night was, in truth, a stroke of sheer luck. But I still had an opportunity. That was to undergo my tribulation. If I could survive my first lightning tribulation, perhaps next time, I'd be able to defeat Lu Dongbin. You're preparing for your tribulation? Hurry up, Li Qi's true self is likely already on the move. If he catches you mid-tribulation, you're dead, Lu Dongbin cautioned. I shuddered. His words made it clear I had to act fast. Otherwise, I'd die in vain. Lu Dongbin fixed me with a stern gaze. Shaolin, tell me, what's your plan? Me? I didn't hesitate. Looking up at the sky, I declared, at this point, what choice do I have? The only thing I want now is to ascend to the heavens myself and confront the Jade Emperor. Why should he demand our heads, mine and the Dragon Maiden's? Lu Dongbin fell silent for a long time, then quietly stepped aside. His expression told me he thought I was courting death. But I had no other options. I'd been driven into a corner. What happened last time with the Yangtze River Dragon Maiden, the injustice of it still stung. The Jade Emperor didn't care about right or wrong. Was my life worth so little? Was hers? I grabbed Zhang Jiuxuan's hand with one of mine and the Dragon Maiden's hand with the other. Let's go. Both were stunned. I snapped to my senses and let go immediately, a bit embarrassed. But Zhang Jiuxuan held onto me firmly, ready to take flight. The Yangtze River Dragon Maiden silently followed. Old Fourth, my surname is Long, and my name's Long Shiba, Dragon 18. I called back to Lu Dongbin. He waved impatiently. Get lost already. Clearly, he'd already known my real name. I felt a little embarrassed. Zhang Jiuxuan lifted me into the air, with the Yangtze River Dragon Maiden trailing closely behind. Lu Dongbin's voice came again, 18, if the plague god can't find you, he might go after the people you're connected to and force you to show yourself. Be ready for that. I nodded. Understood. Here's the processed content while keeping the original structure and layout intact. In less than a minute, I felt an overwhelming presence behind me. It was the furious Dragon King of Bohai Sea. Suddenly, thunderous roars echoed, waves churned violently, and his wrath shook the skies. Clearly, the Dragon King had not found us and was venting his anger elsewhere. But he didn't pursue us, probably because Lu Dongbin was keeping him occupied. I felt deeply touched. I'd finally found a true friend. But at the same time, I was disheartened, knowing we'd eventually become enemies. Zhang Jiuxuan brought me to a remote mountain area I had never been to before. There stood a shabby straw-roofed hut, which I assumed had been her home at some point. Having lived for 1,000 years, these types of people tend to have multiple residences. She landed gracefully and pushed the door open. The interior was minimalistic, with just a table and chairs, yet it was immaculate, evidently maintained by a spell she'd cast earlier. Master, why is there only one room? I asked. With 3 of us sharing one space, wouldn't that be inconvenient? I used to live here alone, Zhang Jiuxuan replied nonchalantly. I glanced at the Yangtze dragon woman who had landed beside us. Dragon woman, this room is yours. Focus on healing. Saying nothing, she silently walked into the room. Watching her retreating figure, I said nothing as well. I sat cross-legged to meditate. The demonic energy in my body was healing my wounds, but it still required fine-tuning. A wave of emotion washed over me. Master. What's the matter, my husband? Jiang Jiushuan crouched down, her tone gentle. I took out the thunderstrike bamboo and explained its current state. Its dull blade pained me. She received the sword, examined it by gently running her fingers over it, and exhaled lightly. My husband, the thunderstrike bamboo's spirit is still intact, though it has taken severe damage and is dormant for now. Really? I lit up instantly. Truly. She nodded with confidence. What should I do to save her? I asked eagerly. My husband, you've already formed a pact with her. Her life is tied to yours. You can heal her with your demonic energy, Jiang Jiushuan explained while returning the thunderstrike bamboo to me. Without hesitation, I took the blade and began channeling my demonic energy into it. 10 minutes later, overwhelming excitement surged through me. I could sense the thunderstrike bamboo again. Our spirits reconnected. I was overjoyed. The feeling of regaining something lost was indescribably beautiful. So, I infused half of my demonic energy into the thunderstrike bamboo. As the once dim sword gradually regained its shine, Jiang Jiushuan's expression subtly shifted to one of relief. Master, wasn't I dead? Am I not? The thunderstrike bamboo asked weakly, its tone tinged with surprise and confusion. Thunderstrike bamboo, don't be so reckless next time. Disguising my joy with a stern face, I responded seriously. Understood, Thunderstrike Bamboo replied with gratitude in its voice. Thank you for saving me. From now on, I'll do everything I can to assist you. Focus on healing. I instructed firmly. It trembled slightly, stopping immediately when it sensed my master's presence nearby. I quickly told it to relax and focus solely on recovery. Once the Thunderstrike Bamboo quieted down, I finally let out a sigh of relief. I carefully put the sword away and informed Jiang Jiushuan that I needed to heal myself. She nodded and watched me silently. I closed my eyes and dove into my healing meditation. Day turned to night. By the time I opened my eyes, the pain was gone. My demonic energy had not only replenished but had become stronger than ever. It seemed my body's nature was to get stronger after each grave injury. Opening my eyes, I found Jiang Jiushuan still by my side. You're awake, my husband? I'll go make you something to eat, she said gently, brushing my hair affectionately before stepping out. I stood and moved toward the room. I could still sense faint energy fluctuations inside. The Yangtze dragon woman's injuries were clearly more severe and still in the process of healing. Not wanting to disturb her, I left the area. I began planning for my tribulation. With my current strength, passing the first phase of the heavenly tribulation shouldn't be a problem. Of course, I could consult the Lightning Mother for specific details. I believed that as long as I overcame the first tribulation, my power would reach a higher level. Just then, Jiang Jiushuan entered, carrying a roasted chicken. My husband, eat up, she said warmly. I was starving and eagerly grabbed the chicken, devouring it with large bites. The taste was exquisite. While different from the Yangtze dragon woman's cooking, it had a unique charm of its own. Next, Jiang Jiushuan conjured a bathtub. I froze for a moment. My husband, eat while you soak. It's been a long time since we bathed together. Come. She began undressing me. I'd gotten used to this by now. After all, it had been a while since I truly relaxed. Jiang Jiushuan gently removed all my clothes and helped me into the tub, carefully adjusting the water temperature with her magic. Her cool, pale hands began washing me. All my stress melted away instantly. I finished the chicken and closed my eyes. Master, a little lower with your hands. Sure, here? Lower. She obeyed tenderly, showing not the slightest hint of annoyance. Suddenly, I recalled something and opened my eyes. Master, where have you been lately? Did you go to the mysterious cave? Here is the processed output with maintained structure and formatting. She left. I was shocked she had actually gone to the mysterious cave right under the watchful eyes of the figure in the painting. How on earth did she pull that off? Husband, let me tell you. Before she could finish, the door creaked open. The recovered Yangtze River Dragon Maiden stepped out. But when she saw me naked, with Jiang Jiushuan bathing me, she froze. Her usually calm face suddenly flushed with a deep red. Carry on, she said awkwardly and quickly turned back to her room. I was equally embarrassed. Who would have thought she'd recover so quickly and walk right into this? Does she now think I can't even take care of myself? The door creaked shut. She probably wanted to find a hole to hide in from the sheer awkwardness. Master, I don't want to bathe anymore, I said. Be good. Just 10 more minutes, Jiang Jiushuan said gently while continuing to help me wash. But, How about 8 minutes? Be good, my Xiao Shi Ba, little 18, is the best. Her fingers, cool to the touch, felt incredibly comforting, leaving me no choice but to stop resisting. When the awkwardness dissipated, I asked her what she had been about to say earlier. Could it have something to do with the 9 yuan demon lord? I'd thought about it before. If I could find 9 yuan, could we form an alliance? After being banished, she must bear deep resentment toward the Jade Emperor. Would she want to seek revenge? If we joined forces, the odds could improve significantly. But for now, I know nothing about her, so it's just a daydream. Unexpectedly, Zhang Jiuxuan said, "Husband, once you pass your tribulation, you must quickly transform into your true dragon form." This made me feel helpless. I couldn't rush my progress. The most direct method is to consummate the bond with the Yangtze River Dragon Maiden, but she would never agree to that so easily. She has preserved her virginity for thousands of years, there's no way she'd just give it up for me. Husband, do you need my help? Zhang Jiuxuan's gaze drifted toward the Dragon Maiden's room. I quickly stopped her, and she chuckled. After finishing my bath, she dressed me, and I felt completely refreshed. As I watched her carefully adjust my clothes, her red lips still carrying a hint of my scent, my eyes widened. She looked up, and those deep, captivating eyes locked onto mine. We stood in silence, gazing at each other. Husband, are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Zhang Jiuxuan asked. And no, I stammered. Next time, I'll just bathe myself. No way. Zhang Jiuxuan rejected outright. 10 minutes at most, okay, she persisted. I had no choice but to agree. Afterward, I recounted the events of late, including my newfound ability to set up arrays. She softened at the mention of Zhang Baishui. Husband, what's meant to be yours will always be yours. Use it wisely. I'll always stay by your side, she added. I fell silent. Our 1-year marriage contract was nearing its end. Could I truly bring myself to let her go? I didn't know. But I had a feeling that when the time came and I handed her the divorce letter, she might even feel relieved. I broached the subject of Lady Lightning regarding the upcoming tribulation, and she agreed to help. I immediately stepped out of the house. The sky was clear, and I shouted her name loudly. Before long, a bolt of lightning shot down from the clouds, condensing into a tall, imposing figure. It was Lady Lightning herself. You've got some nerve calling me now. Speak, what do you want? Her voice was low, laced with scorn. It seemed the matter with destroying the plague god's avatar had already reached the heavens and caused an uproar. But despite her tone, she didn't seem to truly resent me. If she did, she wouldn't have shown up at all. I got straight to the point. Lady Lightning, when exactly is my tribulation? I needed to overcome it before the plague god's true form descended, otherwise, disaster loomed. In a month, Lady Lightning replied. I was stunned. That's too long. I want it sooner. Your guts are growing, aren't they? Others want to delay, and you want it early? Lady Lightning was taken aback. I have no other choice. If the plague god's true form appears before I pass, I'll be powerless to fight back, I explained, exasperated. You really know how to stir up trouble. Lady Lightning sighed but offered reluctant praise, bold enough to kill deities. You've surpassed my offspring in daring. If not for your recklessness, I'd honestly consider making you my foster son. After some thought, she asked, how much earlier do you want it? As early as possible, I replied. You name it, I'll advance it that much. Since I'm already bending the rules, it's up to you, Lady Lightning said. I thought it over. 3 days from now. No, she refused flatly. I was stunned. Didn't you just say it's up to me? Zhang Jiuxuan interjected. Husband, rushing the tribulation would make its registrar think you've grown significantly stronger, increasing the difficulty and number of lightning strikes. Lady Lightning is thinking of your well-being. I finally understood. Exactly. If you insist on 3 days from now, your tribulation will involve 12 lightning bolts. Lady Lightning elaborated. 12? I gasped. I recalled that even the Yellow River Dragon King's divine tribulation only had 12 strikes. Tribulations vary by individual. The stronger you are, the higher the challenges, but not excessively so. You are, after all, a demon king. Lady Lightning clarified. I went speechless. 12 bolts could leave me completely scorched. Don't worry, even if you don't say anything, I can't just stand by and watch you die. But I'll make it a little easier for you, said Dianmu, the Thunder Mother. I gratefully replied, thank you, Dianmu. This was a significant risk for her to take. No need to thank me, I quite like you, kid, Dianmu said. I don't want the lightning tribulation to be easier, I said instead. Dianmu froze in surprise, as did Zhang Jiuxuan and the Yangtze Dragon Maiden. Most people beg me to lighten their tribulation, but you don't want that? Dianmu asked in astonishment. When I was younger, Jiang Zhoushuan had told me that for demons, enduring the lightning tribulation is a process to cleanse the body's impurities, akin to taking a marrow cleansing pill. The stronger the tribulation, the greater the purification. When I regained my half-dragon form, the viscous black impurities being expelled from my body signaled that it was being purified, and my physical body was advancing. The lightning tribulation tempers the body, it is another pathway to ascension. If I can survive the tribulation, my strength will drastically increase. The pestilence god's true form will soon descend to the mortal world. I don't want the tribulation to be lighter, I want it to be stronger and use it to power up. Dianmu's face showed admiration, Jiang Zhoushuan smiled, and the Yangtze Dragon Maiden's gaze flickered. Dianmu, set the tribulation for 3 days from now, 12 strikes of lightning, and make each one slightly stronger, I requested. Stronger? Are you insane? Dianmu was shocked and immediately objected. 12 lightning strikes are already terrifying enough. You can't make it stronger. It's rare enough for a first tribulation to exceed 10 strikes, and your chance of survival would drop to less than half. I was planning to make it easier for you, but you want it stronger? Do you have a death wish? I don't want to die, but I have no other choice, I replied. The divine avatar nearly killed me earlier, the true form's descent will be even worse. Achieving the dragon god form is out of reach for now, all I can do is take this life-threatening gamble. Each step forward forces my hand. Dianmu asked seriously, are you certain? Absolutely. Fine, she agreed. You really are something else. I admire your resolve. See you in 3 days. I thanked her. If not for that arrangement, the timing of the thunder tribulation might have clashed with the pestilence god's descent. Given the pestilence god's rage, he will undoubtedly descend within a month. I can't argue with you. You can face the tribulation whenever you're ready, Dianmu said, exasperated. I gave a resigned smile, preparations are lacking. Dianmu has done all she can to help me, and I'm determined to repay her someday. Lightning tribulations are perilous. Choose the right location and make sure you have protectors during the process, Dianmu cautioned seriously. I understood. Last time, demonic energy attracted a lot of trouble. After this tribulation, the demonic energy will be even more overwhelming, it could even draw celestial beings. My husband and I will protect him, Jiang Zhoushuan said firmly. I'll protect him too, said the Yangtze Dragon Maiden. Dianmu nodded, and I felt a bit relieved. She leaned closer and added, the tribulation might draw celestial beings, but be wary of certain people too. What kind of people? I asked. Those who've been banished to the mortal world but want to atone for their sins and earn merit, they might target you for their own gain. Human nature is unpredictable, Dianmu warned. I understand, I thanked her for the reminder. Looking somewhat resigned, Dianmu remarked, I have a feeling that your tribulation in 3 days will be quite lively. As she was about to leave, she suddenly asked, where is the 1,000-year fox demon? I was stunned for a moment. Has she not encountered her fortuitous chance yet? I told her everything I knew. Well, I hope she's all right. If you need me, just call. If you feel ready to face the tribulation tomorrow, I'll be there too. Keep your mind calm during the tribulation, avoid distracting thoughts, or you could fall straight into the demon realm. With a sigh, Dianmu ascended into the sky, transforming into a streak of lightning and vanishing into the clouds. I fell into deep thought, slightly regretting letting the 1,000-year fox demon go. The falling pie from the sky, what exactly is it? I still haven't figured it out. With a sigh, I decided to find a suitable place for the tribulation. Closing my eyes, I planned to rest until the lightning arrived, preparing to face my first tribulation as part of Dragon Clan 18. I thought of heading to the mysterious cave many demons used for their tribulations. But I hesitated, worried the Yellow River Dragon King might be nearby. He despises me deeply, and I don't want to risk him taking advantage of this vulnerable time to retaliate. Changing my mind, I asked Jiang Zhoushuan for advice. After some thought, she suggested a better location for the tribulation. Relieved, I prepared to head out immediately. The Yangtze Dragon Maiden had no objections. Jiang Zhoushuan led the way, with the Yangtze Dragon Maiden closely following. With 2 protectors, I could focus entirely on the tribulation. I prayed that everything would go smoothly. On the way, as we passed over the Yellow River, I glanced down and saw a large crowd gathering in one direction. Master, let's stop for a moment, I said alertly. Jiang Zhoushuan and the Yangtze Dragon Maiden halted beside me, looking down. It appears today is the coronation ceremony for the new Yellow River Dragon King, I said hesitantly. Long Shi Ba has become the new Dragon King. As her younger brother, should I go down to check on her? After all, she treated me well in the past and now, she might not have anyone to rely on. If she can't hold her ground, trouble is sure to arise. With that thought, I turned to Zhang Jiuxuan. Master, I want to check on my sister. If you wish to go, of course you may, Zhang Jiuxuan replied gently. If things are fine, we'll continue on our way. I only wanted to observe from afar, to ensure she ascends the throne safely, then leave in peace to prepare for the tribulation. Having grown up without family, I know this is the moment when she needs me most. Listen to your husband, Zhang Jiuxian said, taking me down from the skies, with the Longjiang Dragon Maiden following closely. The coronation ceremony was held in the Yellow River Dragon Palace, far more crowded than when Guamei was crowned. After all, Long Shi wasn't one for extravagant displays, nor did she have a Prince Charming by her side. Guamei was dead, and whether there was a new Dragon King remained uncertain. Zhang Jiuxian quietly landed us in a secluded spot. Both the Longjiang Dragon Maiden and Zhang Jiuxian were stunningly beautiful, so I had them change their appearances to avoid causing a stir. The Longjiang Dragon Maiden wore a black veil, revealing only her eyes, which still retained their captivating allure. Maybe cover your eyes too, I suggested. If I did that, I wouldn't be able to see, she replied. Your eyes are way too expressive, I said helplessly. The corners of her lips curved up slightly. Zhang Jiuxian used her magic to alter her appearance but remained mesmerizing. I requested she make herself less attractive, perhaps a thicker waist, a flatter bottom, and she complied. Though she now looked more ordinary, her demeanor remained strikingly charismatic. I also disguised my appearance using demonic energy. Only this way could we blend in with the crowd. We joined the masses heading towards the Yellow River Dragon King Square, which was already bustling with thousands of people offering their congratulations. The setup was simple, with merely a dragon-shaped emblem and a dragon throne at the center, low-key, not ostentatious. From the looks of it, Long Shi's ascent to Dragon King was more of a reluctant undertaking. I noticed the palace staff busily greeting guests, and Morong Qingcheng was also bustling around, attending to visitors. She greeted us too but frequently glanced towards the entrance, her face brimming with anticipation. Was she waiting for someone, perhaps me? It seemed that on this significant day for Long Shiyu, she hoped I would show up. Thanks to Morong Qingcheng's sharp instincts, it's clear she hadn't recognized the three of us. But seeing her fully recovered put me at ease. She arranged for us to sit centrally within the square. After Zhang Jiuxian and the Longjiang Dragon Maiden took their seats, Morong Qingcheng approached me. Did you happen to see a young man, not yet 20, about your height, on your way here? I shook my head. Her temper flared. Dragon 18. You're seriously letting me down. Do you even realize what day it is? She scolded me while I couldn't help but stare at her. She noticed my gaze and frowned, though she didn't lash out, probably mistaking me for some lecherous ogre. I saw through her assumption but stayed quiet, smiling faintly. She turned to attend to other guests, but before she left entirely, I stopped her. She didn't resist. Using my skill in reading faces, I scanned the surroundings for anyone who might pose a threat to Long Shiyu. Identifying potential hazards in advance was crucial to ensure her coronation proceeded without disruption. After several sweeps, I told Morong Qingcheng to remove a few individuals I had identified. They had shady appearances, faces steeped in malice like bad seeds, risks lying in wait. Morong Qingcheng refused. Every guest at the Dragon King's coronation is an honored attendee. How could you ask me to kick someone out? Having said that, she strode toward the entrance, grumbling along the way. Dragon 18, what are you even up to? Do you have any idea how important today is for your sister? Are you really not going to show up? Just imagine how disappointed you must be if you're not here. She's been waiting for you all night. She's in need of support right now, but you're just missing in action? And even if you couldn't make it, couldn't you at least let someone know? Not showing up, not sending word. Do you even care about your sister? Unbelievable. Her voice grew angrier as she spoke, but she still waited for me at the door. I simply watched her leave. Nonetheless, I had a clear plan. Keeping my eyes on those suspicious individuals was crucial. While biding time, I overheard mutterings in the crowd, questioning whether Long Shiyu was truly fit to be Dragon King. Some claimed there were many more capable figures in the Yellow River. Others suggested her position stemmed solely from her connection to the former Dragon King, which stirred resentment. A few were even plotting to embarrass her publicly or humiliate her during the ceremony. I heard every stinging word but remained unfazed. I already had countermeasures in place. Half an hour later, most of the guests had arrived, and the coronation was imminent. Morong Qingcheng appeared visibly upset, clear that she hadn't seen me among the attendees. Still, she tidied up her emotions and went inside the Dragon Palace to escort Long Shiyu out. I kept my attention locked on the scene. Soon, the long-awaited Long Shiyu emerged, led out by Morong Qingcheng. Unlike Guame's grand, soaring entrance, she walked out, taking measured strides. Her makeup was bold and cold, with sharp brows and dark lips, exuding an extraordinary aura. Dressed in a royal purple dragon robe, her tall and elegant stature commanded attention, emanating an undeniable sense of authority. With each step she took, her presence rippled outward, silencing the entire square. All eyes turned to her in awe of her stunning beauty. I, however, didn't find her particularly attractive, perhaps even a little plain, almost unattractive. I felt no extraordinary allure. Long Shi's gaze immediately looked toward the entrance upon her appearance. Not seeing me, a deep disappointment flickered across her face. It was the kind of disappointment that carried the loneliness of waiting endlessly for one's family members to return, only to realize they had left without a word. I could see it clearly. I wanted nothing more than to rush to her side, to stand with her and tell her I had been here all along. I wanted to bear witness, by her side, to this significant moment in her life. She looked alone up there, like a new bride without her family backing her. Yet I restrained myself. I didn't want to reveal myself. I simply wanted to ensure, silently, that she ascended the throne safely. After all, I wasn't in a position to show myself publicly right now. Even though I knew she was probably angry enough to want to kick me. Because if I appeared, no doubt the first question she'd ask would be, "Where have you been?" What would I say? "I'm preparing for my tribulation." This is section 48/118. Following your instructions, I have processed the content while maintaining the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and layout. Here is the result. She must have been terrified and might have abandoned the Dragon King's position just to protect me. I didn't want her to worry. Long Shi quickly adjusted her emotions, burying her disappointment deep inside, and strode toward the center of the square. Even though she's a woman, her steps carried an imposing aura. She looked at the dragon throne, but there wasn't a trace of desire in her eyes. It was clear that the Dragon King's position didn't tempt her at all. She was different from the ambitious Guame. Long Shi wasn't chasing power. Watching her, I felt uneasy. Her makeup today was subtle, but it couldn't conceal her weariness and pallor. Her health was always fragile, and she probably hadn't rested for a long time. I remembered how she loved to sleep. Recently, she had been busy taking over the Yellow River. I was worried she might not hold up. What concerned me even more was that her facial expressions looked off. Logically, on the day of her ascension, she should have been glowing, her forehead bright with radiance. But her forehead was darkened, which meant something sinister was brewing today. I focused my attention. "Husband, something is wrong with Long Shi's expression," Zhang Joshuan reminded me. I nodded. I scanned the surroundings. There were minor disturbances, just little acts of defiance. Such petty things were within Long Shi's ability to handle. The real trouble hadn't surfaced yet. What could it be? An old nemesis? Or perhaps something else?